I thought he was gonna do the whole thing.
Welcome, everybody. It is 6:06 on Thursday, June 18th, which I'm gonna call Nick's Day. So we've got our confetti here to say thank you for an incredible,
Our jerseys.
right, and our jerseys. If you were in Lower Manhattan today, it was something unprecedented. I've been down here 30 years and I've never seen it quite
Never.
like this. And the thing that makes me even most proud was after I got home after the parade and the ceremonies, and then I came back to the community board tonight. Man, DSNY is all over the place. They've got leaf blowers, the city looks great. And you would, on the main street, it's really impressive. So it was a great day to be a New Yorker and a great day to be in community board.
Right.
Yeah. All right, and with that, we're gonna launch it off about having an understanding about our housing in Community Board 1. And one of the things that we had talked about for many years on this board was affordable housing and how our understanding of affordable housing that is brought on by those of us who have lived in either a Mitchell-Lama property or stabilized, whether that's quasi-rent stabilized or regular rent regulated or any of the other things that have been built in Lower Manhattan, doesn't compart with the picture that the city tells us. So this board has been pretty decent over the years. We have people like Tom Goodkind who tracked our affordable housing and issued reports every year. So we knew where the units were and to hold property managers and developers accountable. A lot has changed since 2020. We've lost a lot of our resources. And so we engaged with George to help us put together a super robust understanding of what happened in Community Board 1 so we can take this data and advocate back to the city, because what we argued for and we knew intrinsically about City of Yes not helping Community Board 1, you now see from the applications that we're getting, it's almost all luxury and there is no requirement for affordable housing. So we are trying to hold on to the Community Board 1 that we know in our height after 9/11 was the most successful, which was with socioeconomic, diverse housing, full retail, full commercial, and trying to analyze on all three levers how we can get back to an in today's climate, which is now includes remote work versus in-office work, but how we can get to a point to have the people who can live and work in the same district. And with that, sure.
Thank you, Tim. This was a really amazing exercise for us. I just want to say I'm joined by my associate, Alihan, who's online. He did all of the heavy lifting here. I got to put it all together and make this for you. So as Tammy said, we've been working on this housing inventory for Manhattan and Community Board 1, and you're going to report the results of this work. But before we get into that, there are a few important housing updates. It's really important to talk. So a few weeks ago, the mayor released Block by Block, which is the New York City's new housing plan. And it differs from Housing New York and other housing plans in many ways, including this focus on existing tenants and rent regulation protections, and its embrace of local planning for housing. So I'm going to actually read this part from page 68 of this report. The Mamdani administration will explore smaller scale, publicly led planning actions that can collectively drive substantial housing production citywide. A micro plan could consist of several blocks, non-contiguous opportunity areas within a community district, or other focused geographies that advance the core neighborhood planning goals, which are affordable housing, on a smaller scale. These strategic actions will help the city effectively plan in partnership with communities, even in areas where a larger neighborhood rezoning is not feasible. So what does this mean? What would publicly led planning actions look like? I think that could mean a community board plan or, a plan that is essentially a bottom-up plan. And, in a city that has historically been driven by top-down approaches, this is significantly different. It got my attention. And, the idea that the city effectively plan in partnership with communities, that's like essentially saying that DCP should work more collaborative. So, Tammy, very timely. And then related, there was this major change in state law last month as it relates to housing and zoning, right? So we changed the environmental laws in New York State and essentially creates this exemption for most areas, for most projects with 500 and fewer net units. They don't have to do an environmental assessment. They don't have to do an EIS. They just have to go and do an application. It's assumed not to have any environmental impacts. And what does that mean? So historically, the biggest impediment for doing a land use application or rezoning is the cost of putting the application together, 90% of which is the environmental review. And then we are just saying, all right, well, take that 90%, we don't have to do that. That means applications, if this community board wanted to do an application, it suddenly has become something that's practical, right? Before you could do it, but it wasn't practical because you didn't have $100,000 sitting around. Now it's something that anybody can do these smaller community-driven plans. It's really a game changer. Okay. And then finally, remember there's more to come soon. So we have this strategic equity framework, which essentially will be these growth targets that are going to be assigned to every single community district. And then the fast track community districts. There's going to be 12 community districts that are selected for fast track treatment. You're likely not going to be one of them, but these two things are coming and they're going to be coming by October 1st. And so, you put all these things together and the changes in state law, there are now tools to actually implement local plans. So that's pretty cool. At least there's a promise of it anyway. All right.
Can we
So
ask questions?
Yeah.
now?
Go for it. We'll do such.
Absolutely.
Previous page that you mentioned that if there are 500 units.
Yeah.
They don't need to go through environmental review.
yes,
Does that include if they're on a brownfield site? Because 500 units is a tower that's 40 floors high. So it's pretty large.
oh, and it's net 500. So if you could do 250 now and 750 with the action, that counts, right? So it's a difference between what you can do now, and what you can do in the future. Now, there are certain exceptions, like if there's something about brownfields, now that you say that, and I'm not, I have to get back to you on that, but it's gonna be most, if it is in previously disturbed sites. So the way they did it, so it didn't affect, upstate, is that they said, well, it has to be in previously disturbed sites. So if it's a greenfield site, this doesn't apply.
But how many greenfield sites do we have in New York City?
Oh, almost none, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be very few.
Everything you touch, there is contaminants.
Yes, right. But so if you're going through like the brownfield process, like that's a separate process that you would go through before you would do your application. And so this is going to affect most, but there will be some that it doesn't. Yes.
Give us an example, something in the recent past that shows this kind of community-based planning in action. You don't like that question, did you?
I don't think it exists, so.
Oh, well, it does. So some community boards have done local plans and rezoning applications.
197,
197.
no, Right.
right?
Yeah.
But you can do it, okay, so anybody can do an application to change zoning in New York City, right? That's what private developers do all the time. Community Board 7 has done 2 over the past 20 years, 1 recently. And Community Board 6 is investigating it. Community Board 5 is also looking into changing the rules, the POPs rules to insert bathrooms into one of the amenities in POPs, which I think is a great idea. It's a text amendment, right? That's all it is. It's a text amendment to insert bathrooms into it, and it's something that you can do. You have to get DCP's approval because they can kill it, right? They can say, yeah, this is, there's no planning rationale for this or whatever, and they can stop you. But, you know, they want to do things and they don't want to have to do the applications. And so if it's something that they're not opposed to, that they can let it go forward. So these things happen. It's just that practically speaking, they're very difficult. You normally have to get an outside partner to fund it, right? And so you're a co-applicant. And so you have to get a community-based organization or somebody else to essentially put the money up for it because, you know, it was expensive to do environmental review. And now you don't have to do it for a lot of projects. It's a dramatic change. And so it makes perfect sense that you're asking this question because this wasn't a practical possibility. Exactly. And so you were considering it, so now it is.
The other thing that I will add to what George is saying is CB7 tried to do the 197A in 2025. And DCP flat out said they were too busy to consider it. They were working on other projects. And so this is a new thing that will allow somebody like CB7 to fast track this a little bit further and forward and faster.
Well, I mean, you have the administration saying, we are going to do this, right? I mean, that's, it's amazing when you get the boss to say, well, that's what you have to do, that your schedule frees up.
Anecdotally, it seems that one of the biggest impediments to new housing historically is local community opposition. Everybody says they want new housing, but nobody wants next to that. And so why would we think that emphasis on community-based planning would generate more housing as opposed to more restrictions on that?
So I think what you're saying is true in some places. I can tell you with the boards I serve in Manhattan, that's largely not true. And I think in Queens, what you're saying is largely true. In Staten Island, it's largely, I think it depends on where you are. I know that we're gonna talk a little bit about East Harlem a little later, but they were like, well, we're getting all this development anyway, so we should do an upzoning to get MIH, so every development we get has affordable housing in it. I mean, there's certain changes happening anyway. And so how do you correct it?
Plans that you were mentioning that you
Yep.
worked on in Manhattan, were they housing related plans or were they dealing with other aspects?
Okay. A lot of them, they're mostly housing now. I mean, in recent years, it's been all about housing.
Right.
Yeah.
So could we make one about open space or?
You can.
know what I mean? Like it's kind of reversed, right? We need open space, so developers that we want to have in our community must provide open space for, you know, whatever. I don't know, whatever, you know. Do they still have a pre-app?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so,
the pre-application process would still be the same, application is the same, it's just that the application doesn't need that big attachment to it. That
sure, but I feel like
200
it does still need a little bit of that, you know what I mean? Because no application is going anywhere without money. And we don't have a lot of extra, I think, really. I mean, you can say that it's the cost of putting that crew together, and it is, and that is substantial, but I don't, you know, you could imagine it starts at $100,000.
Yeah.
And how hard is it for a community to raise $100,000? It's real hard, actually.
Oh, it
So
is.
then they inevitably find a partner who happens to own a lot of land. So maybe we should be reverse engineering it and find our nicest partners after this and say, guys, we want to do some things here. You seem like a really good landowner. I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to determine who good landowners. you wanna come and be a part of our pack where we're looking for housing, but we also need open space, and here are the 5 or 6 things that we've heard the community wants.
So, I mean, I can tell you the numbers. I mean, I did the application for Community Board 7. We did the environmental review, my office did, and, you know, it did cost like $80,000 for that. But the environmental review was between 80 and 90% of that, right? And so when you cut out that, well, then you start talking about numbers that, you know, agencies can consider. And even without partners, you know, it's, anyway,
Cool.
I think
it's a game changer.
We should find our mechanism, like, one more thing, like, our mechanism could be like supporting our historic buildings, where if you wanna come and build some housing, which we want, you need to put the shine on that areas of, think out of the box. I don't know, people must do that, like, we all agree, we love these beautiful buildings, right, some of them, and definitely underserved, like, you can't even get an application in landmarks. So I'm just saying, like, there's probably some things like that.
no,
But if someone's building a 500 unit housing, it's definitely a tower. And to me, spending $100,000 studying environmental impact is zero for them. While to me, building a tower that big with 500 units, it's gonna have
Huge impact.
substantial environmental impacts that now we're like, maybe.
Yes, it's not good in that way.
well,
But-
and
that
keep in
is
mind,
not-
it's also, you could also build a 250 and a 750, so the impacts are huge.
Delta, right.
Right, I mean, for our community, our issue is always that all we're getting are luxury, we're not getting the diversity in the housing that we need and want. So those are different things, but there are 3 or 4 things that we've talked about over the course of in a post-COVID world. One was a small business incentive zone, develop something like that
Something like
to
these.
preserve small businesses and incentivize figuring out some kind of zoning and some kind of incentive plans to allow small businesses to thrive. Because the market, what the quote market rate is sometimes just unattainable, and it shows in our district where we have we have the highest amount of retail vacancy, period. So whatever they're saying market rate is, clearly isn't true, but the metrics are there and the parameters are there that allow that perspective to retain, and therefore our streets are, you know.
But
retail
how does
value.
that relate to the environmental?
I think that's something that we can look at for incentivizing for when they're adding new housing.
Well, I thought that more relates to like these these dreams of ULURPs where like,
Yeah.
you know, people get subway stations, handicap access, they get bonus. Like if we could
Yeah.
invent something along the lines, like,
Exactly.
but the best invention is one that has like the best and biggest hook. You need a hook. You
Yep.
just gave a hook, there's maybe whatever, okay.
We also need to figure out hooks, because we no longer, the way that housing financing works is very different than it was 15, 20 years ago. It's not the local bank financing local projects. It's general lenders without local contextuality, and they're just looking at the metrics that are in front of them and their balance sheet and the pencils. And they're not actually caring whether luxury or stabilized housing in any way is better for that lot. They're looking for what's better for the financing for them getting back their property. So we need to find some kind of incentive programs or zoning, just like all the things we've talked about, to hit every layer of every opportunity with carrots and sticks to get what we need, because that's what we actually had more of after 9/11 and less of that. And with that, I'll bring it back to George.
All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna talk about the data we put together for this, and then I'm gonna talk about results and then some thoughts after that. All right, so we created this inventory of every lot in Manhattan with details on their housing and lot history. And so this is complicated because sometimes lots are joined together, they're merged, sometimes they're subdivided, and so you have to end up with a relatively complex database to go back in time. And the inventory is based upon the city tax lot data, so it can be mapped at the individual level, and you can look at the different types of housing by lot, whether it's income restricted, rent stabilized, NYCHA or other, which is mostly market rate. So the data sources that we're using for this, the primary is Pluto, the primary land use output data file from the city, which gives us all the tax, the lot information. The rent stabilized numbers come mostly from the Department of Finance. The income restricted numbers, meaning housing that is income restricted, comes from Housing Preservation, HPD. We also incorporated historical housing research this community board did in 2009, 2012, 2015, 2018. And then we went through it and made adjustments for special cases, hotels, and errors that just emerged as we were scrubbing through the data. And let me just say that this data set is not perfect, and I will say that no data set is perfect, but I think this one does tell a compelling story. But before I get into that story, I want to talk a little bit about rent stabilization, rent stabilized housing. So rent stabilized units are subject to rent regulation, which limits the rent increases and usually gives occupants the right to renew expiring leases. And while many rent stabilized units are affordable, others are only affordable to a few. And that's why DCP, when they talk about affordable housing, they make this distinction between income restricted units and rent stabilized units. Now, most income restricted units are also rent stabilized, but there are many rent stabilized units that are not income restricted. So some buildings with rent stabilized units have regulatory agreements that expires and others have no expiration date. I like to point out 8 Spruce here, right? This is nearly 900 units of rent stabilized housing that is expensive.
Yeah.
Not very many people would call it affordable, but it is rent stabilized. And
But are the rents stabilized? Do they still count as affordable units? Like they say we give you 30%.
yeah, so they are not income restricted, right? So they were part of an incentive program that was put in place when it was built, and they were allowed to set high rents, but people that are there do enjoy rent stabilization protections, meaning they have small increases that are determined by the rent guidelines. So if you actually look at the rents, I went and looked at the rents here, and they're not so terrible compared to.
You want to get some like rents like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think the rent stabilized for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Was that the deal that developers struck, and I thought that
Yes,
it was to have rent stabilized units at basic market rate, but being incrementally increased over time.
but it was incrementally increased.
That was the
according-
deal.
Yeah, that was the deal. You would know better than me the history of it, but I can tell you that's, that made a big difference when it came online. It was nearly like 900 units.
Yeah.
Um,
Hospital, they bought the rights, right, yeah.
Point in question, so when we negotiate these buildings to have 30% affordable housing, would
That
that?
would not count. That would absolutely not count. Affordable housing is income restricted housing when you're doing that kind of negotiation.
But there is nonetheless a tremendous community benefit to that kind of
Sure.
organization as well. It adds a lot of.
Absolutely.
We also have a school.
It completely filled the school.
Yeah.
And 2 sides of a good Gary vote.
But we also,
There's one missing, right?
we want
Last
affordable
side.
housing.
Should have been.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Okay. Okay.
Alright.
This is Justine online, sorry. Everybody jumps in. Can I ask a quick question? When you said
Yes.
that it doesn't fit, George, what does that mean? It doesn't fit as rent stabilized? Because if something is income restricted, the rent only can rise according to what? What are the controls in place, if you know?
That building, Spruce Street, is not related to income in any way.
That's right.
It is only
Right, I understand that.
stabilized at
Yeah.
market. That's why it doesn't fit.
Oh, I see. It doesn't fit as if, okay, got it. That's what you were saying. And then one more
Yeah.
question. Do we know if it's full or not full?
Yeah,
That building
That building.
is pretty full,
Or
I
any
mean,
of
right?
these buildings? Do we know if they're filled up or we don't?
this is a holy grail in terms of data. We don't have vacancy rates for residential units.
Got it.
And
Thank
nobody
you.
does. Okay, so it's important to say where these, let's talk a little bit about these data and where they come from. So there is no official data, building level database of rent stabilized units. The number of rent stabilized units in the building is not a secret. You just can't get a big database. And the reason is because buildings must, with rent stabilized units, have to pay a $20 tax on each unit every year. And so that means it appears on their tax bills, and tax bills are public. And so this is the following from the a tax bill for 70 Battery. And it says rent stabilization charge 43 in 2023. So there were 43 rent stabilized units in this building in 2023. And so you then can recreate a rent stabilization history for this address by looking at the building's tax history. And so we know here that this building used to have 209 rent stabilized units, and then it went down to 155 and then down to 43. And so it was 100% rent stabilized for many years, and now it is about 20% rent stabilized now.
And I
Question,
believe
Tammy?
those, hold on, yeah. I believe that building in particular was 80-20, and that the only remaining regulated are the 20.
Yes, that is right. These are income registered.
Yep, and that's it. So everybody else, and I know this for a fact, including former board members who served on our board for many, many years, who was a teacher in the neighborhood, since it went deregulated in the last 3 years, had the last offer, the rent went up over $2,000. So it was like a 40% or 30-40% increase.
Nothing is stopping them from doing that?
No,
No. What is
So-
good cause eviction such as past? None of that applies?
Doesn't apply to rent stabilized.
Well, it doesn't apply to, it doesn't apply to rent stabilized units on regulatory agreements that expire. So there, and actually, let me get into that because I'm gonna
Okay, you
talk
could
about
talk
that.
about it later? Okay.
Yeah. So since the city never published this database of building level rent stabilization, a citizen, a guy who was a computer programmer said, I can do this. And in 2015, the civic hacker downloaded every single tax bill in New York City and scraped the number of rent stabilized units off the PDF and made this database. And it's all done by the computer, you know. But he did it for the period 2008 to 2015. And this was a big input in one of the big planning processes in East Harlem. And the hacker made scripts that were available to anyone. And so in 2020, my office updated them for every building in Manhattan. We didn't do all of New York City. And then earlier this year, we updated it again. Alihan updated it again for every year to 2025. And we should also say around the same time your board was creating this inventory of rent stabilized housing in your district. These reports are all still on your website. And so we downloaded them and we looked at them, and the numbers nearly exactly match the Department of Finance data, which is always great when you get confirmation that, oh, this is working out.
Tough Good Time was really good.
And it also, your reports are also add some depth and background to like, stories behind how these things have happened. All right, so let's talk about the results. Okay, so as most of you know, your community district is the fastest growing district in Manhattan, right? I mean, we have some districts that are losing housing units, others, yours is by far and away the fastest growing, and it has been for like the last 45 years. But housing growth in your community district is unlike the others. So, you know, you have the history of the large scale 20th century developments, Battery Park City, Southbridge, Independence Plaza, started this transformation, and then the conversions of offices in the financial district, Tribeca's industrial buildings, continued like this residential transformation of your district. But as a result of this history, very little of your housing stock is subject to what we call traditional rent stabilization. And what do we mean by that? So traditional rent stabilization applies to multiple dwellings, actually 6 units or more, built before 1974. And traditional rent stabilization has no expiration date, right? There is no regulatory agreement. They're just there. And most of Manhattan is full of buildings that are subject to traditional rent stabilization. But you have almost none. And you have rent stabilized units, and they're usually a result of a regulatory agreement, and most regulatory agreements have expiration. Now, if it's a zoning bonus, it doesn't, but most of your rent stabilized units will expire or will be renewed. So in 2019, there was a very important change in state law that eliminated luxury decontrol. So prior to 2019, traditional rent stabilized units could be removed from rent stabilization if the rent got high enough. The policy caused a hemorrhaging of traditional rent stabilized units in much of the Manhattan core in the years prior to the ending of luxury decontrol. And now that luxury decontrol stopped, actually that stopped the loss of a lot of the rent stabilized units in those pre-1974 buildings. So that affects every other community district, but not yours, because you don't have a lot of these units. So the luxury decontrol, that didn't apply to most of the post-1974 units that are on regulatory agreements, because you have a regulatory agreement. You got to follow that. And they have these expiration dates. So the result of this is that the history of rent stabilization change in your district is vastly different than others. So what we see in other districts is big losses, mostly prior to 2019 or 2020 is really when it went into effect. But in your community district, since 2020, you lost 21% of the rent stabilized housing in your district, which is astounding. And in Manhattan,
That's only 6 years. That does not include, I just want to get back for everybody who understands where we're going. This does not include, I believe, Southbridge Towers.
it does not.
It does not include IPM,
It does not.
and it does not include Gateway Plaza, which were the three,
Gateway, we
the
did.
main core of Gateway from when it transferred from.
We'll go into what we did with Gateway, because we had data for Gateway. So the point is that Manhattan actually increased rent stabilized housing by 2% in that period, while your district was losing 21% of your rent stabilized housing. It's astounding. And it's lumpy because you have these expiring agreements. And so you just go boom, 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 the number goes down.
This Spruce Street, if it expires, that number would go up.
Yeah, right, it would go ahead. That's exactly right. And I don't know any of the details regarding how long their agreement is. It's usually like 30 or 40 years, but sometimes it varies. All right, so what's happening? I'm going to just talk about a few of the buildings, right? So this is the rent stabilization history of 10 Hanover Square. It goes from nearly 500 units down to 100, down to 43, down to 30. So it lost over 90% of its units, rent stabilized units in the period. This is 254 Front Street. It had 40 units, 40 units, 40 units, 19 units down to 2 in this period. 95% loss in the period. All right, so this is 50 Murray Street. This had 000, went from 4 to 6 to 19. It has 390 units, but 19 of them are rent stabilized now. I don't know why. There are certain programs that HPD has, like J51 and others, where landlords can get incentives to make units rent stabilized in exchange for financing or other agreements with HPD, and they have a lot of these agreements. So I don't know why. There's no explanatory power here, but we're just saying that there are these kinds of changes.
And these rent stabilized units are inclusive of income restricted units.
These are not. We'll get into income restricted shortly.
My question is, do they, not that they are, all of them are, but but are all of the income restricted units counted within this rent stabilization?
Oh, most of them are. If you have an affordable co-op, they are not, because it's an ownership unit.
I have a question, I'm trying to follow. Why do we have so few rent stabilized? Because I
There's how many buildings built before
Yeah.
74, basically.
Or like brownstone, like Upper West Side ground walk-ups where you might have 6 or 7
Right.
units in a.
it's just a typology.
Yeah,
I
your
believe,
loft doesn't provide for it, right? A loft is generally
And-
loft law or in Tribeca, frankly, a converted expensive place.
Yeah.
And-
Right? I mean, during a time where that was promoted by conversion.
And all of the
But so
four 21As and things like that were built had expiration dates, and there was nothing put in place to extend that.
Yeah.
And so developers have sold buildings and just gotten rid of everything.
That's the thing.
And Soho,
The extension is a big deal.
but think about all the walk-ups in Soho that are to the east and west that are full of rent controlled apartments, not just what's on Green and Broome and these huge loft apartments.
Yep.
They have a lot more than we do. We don't have barely any of these.
We-
here.
Anyway,
We had post 9/11, we have, this is only since 2020, there is an argument to be made that between 9/11 and 2020, we had our boom
Yes,
and
They were all regulatory agreement related booms,
yes.
so those agreements.
so they all expire.
correct.
Roughly at the same time.
And roughly, and that is the story of what we're talking about here, is to have the data and to have the information.
Powerful data.
Because we need to, as a board, use our history to advocate for new policy.
Yep.
Was it the like 10, whatever they call the A abatements, right? And right at the like financial crisis, that's when I bought a condo at 120 rent. You
Those are all
15
the
You
years.
have to introduce yourself because
Oh,
we
I'm
don't.
sorry. I'll be going on number 2, but this is fascinating. I never been to a meeting where everyone's talking about buildings.
There we go. All right, let's let George keep going.
Sorry, but the agreement you're referring to, no, here too, Jeff, just the agreement between the owner of the, like, who is, when you refer to the
A
agreement?
regulatory agreement?
Yeah, with whom?
It's like 421A.
Yeah,
It's like the city,
City or
with the,
state.
with the owner.
with the owner, right, and it gets
That.
filed with the lot on Acris. And so the thing is that you can actually look them up, right?
Yeah,
They're there,
those are great.
but there's these like 70-page PDFs and they're like,
Okay.
there's, you know, you can get into the details, but there's no, that, the details on the regulatory agreements are, you know, they're hard to get at.
Yes.
Okay, so the database we have, which is online, you can access it now. It has every building that has or had rent stabilized housing since 2008 and how it changed over time. So you can map, you know, do lot level, you know, it's thematic by rent stabilized units. And again, you know, it's important to say that rent stabilized units are not necessarily affordable. They are rent regulated. They don't always have income restrictions. And DCP has said, they've told community boards that they define affordable housing by units that are income restricted. That's it. They don't count rent stabilization.
Which is not what we had. We had buckets in CB1 of rent stabilization. So there's a massive disconnect between the two.
And so the income restricted units are units that have these income limits and are generally assigned via lottery, right? So you have to fill out an application, you have to prove what you make, you go to, usually it's NYC
We haven't
Housing
lost
Connect.
that many. According to DCP, we haven't lost. Going.
No, you haven't lost those,
Because it was free.
right?
But we didn't have very much to begin with.
There
We
you
didn't,
go.
we didn't have a lot to begin with. What we did have disappeared, and they don't look at rent regulated. But when you look at the two of them together, the reality of what's happened here is stark.
Well, let's look at that. All right, so we did, not only did rent stabilize, we did income restricted, right? So HPD's affordable housing production by building lists all new and preserved income restricted housing since 2024. Most of those are preserved. So what HPD does, and there's an expiring regulatory agreement, they go to the owner and say, we'd like to sign you up for another 30 years. And they give some sort of incentives to do that, right? And there are some places that say, yes, we'll do that, and other places that don't. I don't fully understand that mechanism, but there are lots of places that have signed up to renew.
And there are 0 ways for the public to have part of that exchange, that is simply between the regulatory body and the other.
As far as I'm aware, yes. All right. Yes.
Yeah, probably know what I'm about to say. It's kind of a time check, 'cause I know we got 3 more items to go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know we
They're
probably have a
pretty
lot more to
short.
go.
This is allotted for a full hour, so.
I know, but we're at 45 minutes and I'm guessing you have much more to go through.
I'll go fast.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so, another source of this is Housing Connect, right? So whenever, HPD put this online recently, whenever you, whenever a building goes into a lottery, we now have open data on that. And that picks up some pre-2014 buildings. And so this captures a lot of the income restricted buildings and everything recent, but there may be some really old stuff that is not captured. But, we have a lot of it. And so we can say, how is your community district doing with income restricted housing compared to others? So, Community District 1 is at the bottom of the list of community districts in production and preservation of income restricted units since 2014. So of all of the units that have been preserved or constructed, you have 1.2% of the Manhattan. So 848.
And these are, when you say to May 2026, these are units that have come online. You're not counting things that may be in the works.
There may be one that's under construction right now, right? I mean, so this is permitted, meaning they already have a permit. They may not be occupied. So these are all of them, every single one. There was one preservation, 125 Walker with 88 units. The rest are new construction. That's it. So now you could say, Community District 1 is smaller than other community districts. And so what happens if you normalize by the size of the district? And in fact, it does improve your condition, right? So if you normalize by the side of the district, Upper East Side is the worst. And you're the second worst. You're the second.
Thank God.
When you say
I
size,
think they're terrible.
size,
Size by number of housing units.
We're
Right.
rapidly approaching them. We are turning
Oh.
low. I mean, the thing is, I feel that, and all of us have.
Well, that's not good quality, by the way.
That is
Yeah.
correct. We are turning Lower Manhattan into Park Avenue in the 70s at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
at night.
So what, there'll be tax train stations after all, because up there it's unmanageable if you live up there, like the system is terrible, yeah.
But the streets are empty.
Yeah, okay.
They're,
there's all-
the buildings are 60 to 70% occupied, the rest are pettit terrace.
Yeah,
And,
well, that's true.
it's busy during the work day and then it's dead at night,
Mhm.
which, is an awful lot like this.
So when you do it this way, you have 15.5% of the units in your district that are rent stabilized, 1.8% that are income restricted. So we put the database online, there's links to it. Zach will have a copy of this and links. There's an online mapping tool, which we summarize stuff by block, by types of housing units. And I will be the first one to say that these data are not perfect, but no data can be perfect, especially when things change over time. And we're gonna periodically update these because we're keeping it all online. It will update as updates are being pushed out. So again, it's summarized by tax lot, and you have different types of units. I do want to talk about 3 developments specifically because they are so large. In Independence Plaza, Southbridge, and Gateway. Southbridge, again, it's not in here other than it's essentially showing up as other types market rate because it's a Mitchell Lama that left Mitchell Lama in 2014. And so it is not either income restricted or rent stabilized. Gateway. So we had information on Gateway. They had this quasi rent stabilization agreement. It had 1,712 in rent stabilization in 2009. From your reports, we said that roughly half of them were left in 2015. In 2020, there were 600. And then recently they entered into another agreement to extend rent stabilization protections for 430. So we actually.
Can you run through those numbers again?
Sure. So 1,712 down to 600 in 2015, down to roughly half, which was 8 50 is what we said
Mhm.
in 2015, and then 600 in 2020, and then 430 in 2025. Now, these are just reports that, we read, we got them from your,
Yeah,
Your
Tammy and I both live in Gateway, so we know a lot about Gateway.
all right,
And,
does that sound right to you?
well, the 600 and 430 sound correct.
Yep.
And it's probably our information or information from the Bowery Park City Authority that's the source of those two numbers, both were
Yes.
kind of like estimates, but probably close.
Close, okay.
From
And-
2001, that number was really high when we
Well,
were.
2001, it was 100%. So
Oh,
until
2001, it went
2009.
from,
Who's that?
that's correct.
In 2009, it was all units were
Yeah.
affordable, and the QRS agreement changed in 2009 such that only people who have lived there since 2009 are covered. So the reduction in units reflect people moving out since 2009.
Right.
So I'm just gonna put it out there that in under 20 years, we're at a third, and that number continues to decline because there is no secession, there is no nothing. Once the people who are there pass, those are all market. So you can't necessarily include Gateway in anything, so.
Well, we put it in rent stabilization because they called it rent, it was rent stabilization, went to quasi rent stabilization, so it just goes. All right, so Independence Plaza was,
In Southbridge,
I'm sorry?
I think the same thing happens in Southbridge.
It's a different animal. Okay?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
They may have the same effect. but it's different.
right. The Independence Plaza, it was Mitchell Lama shortly after it was built, left Mitchell Lama in 2004. Now, I've been told that some tenants had rental protections, but it's not listed in the rent stabilization date. So I'm not really sure, so, because it's
I
not
think they used
reported in
Southbridge for sure. I don't remember.
Section 8.
It was also a specific agreement.
Right.
That allowed certain, that was income restricted. That allowed some of the former residents to remain.
Same thing happened in Southbridge.
Did something similar happen?
Well,
So, but since it's not reported by HPD, nor is it in a Department of Finance, it just shows up as one. All right, so clearly, the data show that your community district's underperforming compared to other community districts. And part of the underperformance is circumstantial, right? So you started with fewer income restricted units than most districts, and so fewer income restricted units could be preserved because you had fewer. It also has less city-owned land, like 100 Gold Street, right, than most other districts. City-owned land is often developed at 100% affordable housing, right, in other districts. And it also has a
In other,
But anything after you, how about the town? It would be nice to have models of something similar to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so it depends on where you are in Manhattan,
Right.
right? All right, so in East Harlem,
Let's say below 96th Street.
yeah, and so below 96th Street, generally speaking, they don't do 100% affordable housing, except they have on Lower East Side and in Hell's Kitchen. But except for those places, you don't often see it, it's usually split somehow. And it has to do with the cost.
Right.
Land is expensive.
Because land is expensive and they want to capitalize on it. All right, so, and it also hasn't been targeted for affordability like other districts. So I believe it is instructional to look at the other side of the table. So you're at the bottom, who's at the top? So Community District 11, East Harlem, vastly outperformed other Manhattan community districts in both rent stabilized housing and income restricted housing. So it has gone up 26% over the last 6 years. Since 2008, it's gone up 43%.
Do you know for that particular district, is it because, are most of the new units affordable, put it that way?
Most of the units are affordable. And I tell you why, it's part of it is circumstantial, right? So East Harlem started with a lot of income restricted housing. And so that means there was more to renew.
1199 Plaza.
There you go. That was one of them, the big
And
one.
Taino Towers.
Taino Towers, yeah, and Franklin Plaza. I mean, there's a
Right,
bunch of
right.
big ones, right?
Yeah.
And it also had more public land, and that public land was being built with 100% affordable housing, often to the very lowest income band. But affordable housing in East Harlem was also part of a plan. So the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan right here was published in early 2016, so 10 years ago. That plan was followed up by a neighborhood rezoning to implement it in 2017. To support that rezoning, HPD published this plan right here called the East Harlem Housing Plan. And this plan outlined strategies that brought massive incentives to house it in the district. So in short, part of this remarkable performance in East Harlem is a direct result of the commitment the city made to affordable housing in this district, right? It was planned for, they spelled it all out in these plans, and it got affordability, this massive amount of affordability, because we planned for it and then invested in it. But now the city recognizes that concentrating income restricted housing in some districts and not others is a bad idea. So it has this, the Fair Housing Plan and the Fair Housing Framework, and it's saying that these limited affordability areas are now part of city policy. Limited affordability areas are places that are expensive. And projects that create or preserve affordable housing in limited affordability areas are in theory prioritized by HPD's tax credit allocation fund. Right, so they're supposed to like say, all right, we have a bunch of applications, we're supposed to pick the ones in LAAs first. And this district is an LAA, a limited affordability area. And so it should be prioritized as a matter of policy. So in sum, the data clearly shows this underperformance compared to other districts, but where we live and the Fair Housing Framework set this policy framework to adopt these new rules, new policies, new plans to change the direction of affordability. We're supposed to be investing affordable housing resources in these areas that are least affordable. And you know, the question really is, what is the city going to be doing to affect that change? You know, I don't actually know the answer to that, right? I don't know what they're doing. I think the administration's still pretty new. They're still rolling out their plans. Their housing plan came out 3 weeks ago. But block by block is embracing local planning and asking you what you think to increase affordability in your district. I'm just threw a couple things out here. How about no more approving discretionary land use actions that do not produce affordable housing, like 101.
We try.
City-owned land should produce 100% affordable housing, like 100 volts.
For year, right?
That they do that elsewhere, why not do it here, right? I mean, especially when, but the point being is that it's now city policy and it's actually written into law. It was passed by city council that they're supposed to focus resources on limited affordability areas, which are also called high opportunity areas. And then consider these small zoning changes that might map mandatory inclusionary housing. You know, a corner that could be upzone for MIH that you think that you'd be supportive of. You could get behind that. Maybe text amendments for some other improvements that would trigger MIH. Something else, I don't know. I mean, that's not what this is about. I just thought about it for a moment. There are actions. So if you have thoughts about this, the environment has changed. All right, so that's it. That's all I got. There's the appendix here with all of the data sources that
Justine,
we
your
have.
hand is still up.
No, I have a question, and I don't know if George is the one to answer it or it's a discussion for a different day. But I don't understand what the deal is. I get that rent restricted or rent stabilized is different than income restricted. That makes sense. What can we do to ensure that we can put rent stabilization on more places. Is that what this new law is, block by block, or it's not though? It's about building new things, right?
It's not, it is mostly about building new things, but there is this idea that they could get more rent stabilization. So for instance, HPD has this program called J51. Some of you may have heard it was renewed recently. But I mean, essentially, it's a way that you can get new rent stabilized units in existing buildings. And some neighborhoods use it a lot. Like 25% of all J51 units have gone to central Harlem. I don't know why that is. And there are other districts that don't hardly use it at all. And I think part of it is that HPD focuses on the areas that they know the landlords, they have relationships, what can we do? What can this district do to get other types of incentives that the city uses all the time in other areas to focus in on your community district?
Are you qualified for J51? What is the,
It's usually,
I mean, what benefit does the?
so it's usually,
in
so
exchange for what?
it's usually like financing or low interest loans. I know like one example was, there was a City and Suburban Homes, which was this big complex up in the Upper East Side. They tried to demolish it and they got the landmark. And they had a hardship application to essentially demolish their landmark, and landmarks turned them down. And so they had a building that they had to keep they hadn't been keeping up because they were trying to tear it down. And so they entered J51 and all these units became unstabilized.
And when they become rent stabilized under J51, are they income restricted?
I don't believe so. I'm not an expert in all of the myriad programs under
There's an
HPD.
answer to that.
Yeah, there is an answer to that, but I don't believe they are.
I mean, you've worked with the board for a long time, and lots of boards in the city of Manhattan. I mean, do you really, and you had a fantastic example of the work you did on 101 Franklin, 65 Franklin Road, just appears before the commission, and, you drive home the point from helping us write a letter about the limited affordability area. And one commissioner heard you, but basically, the commission doesn't see this as their goal, is my understanding. They get an application, and if it fits the bill, and it's all the boxes have been checked, that's kind of what happens. And I just wonder, what is the perspective we should take in terms of our relationships going forward with all of the entities involved in the development proposal? 3 of which you just noted are immense things coming down our pike. What do we do? I mean, do you have thoughts on?
So let me comment on that, is that, there's a new administration, but that new administration didn't have its housing plan out yet. It had a lot of people that were still there, like carrying things forward, and I'm an optimist, and I am hopeful that there's gonna be a cultural change. And you are absolutely right, Alice, is that for years, it's just been rubber stamp, right? And for years, hasn't always been thus. Right, years ago, there used to actually be real debate, there used to actually be real changes, and that could happen again. And part of it has to do with leadership,
Exactly.
right? And so we have new leadership, and we have new leadership that produced a plan, and you all should read the plan, because it's really markedly different from other plans. It really is. The idea, block by block, yeah, it's
Because you're only gonna be able to make change taking little bites. Little bite here, a little bite there, and every block and every district gets you to a holistic vision. And it's, working with the communities to support it and move it forward is amazing.
It's also a no-brainer, right? It expands the capacity of the administration. If you bring in all the boards, bring in the public, you get more capacity, do more. It actually makes perfect sense considering the politics of this.
So,
We saw how well we did with the city of Yes, and that was our big opportunity, so.
but it was also a different administration that really wasn't interested in providing affordable housing in limited affordability areas.
There was also a significant change in staffing at DCP that was announced last year.
Yeah.
I also think that is not.
I think that we as CB1 are in an opportune moment with this information and with the history that we have to speak with this administration to work on getting policy change. Because housing should be everywhere for everyone. We're not gonna build a successful, sustainable city that's resilient, which is the real thing that we learned after 9/11. The reason why we were resilient in Lower Manhattan was not because they built luxury housing everywhere. It was because they built socioeconomically diverse, we built schools, we had just tons of people out and about and doing. It wasn't building, something that kept people in or locked people out. It was far more comprehensive, and that's what we have to get back to. Mitch had actually brought something to my attention.
There's 2 points, and I wanted to do it while George is still here,
Yeah.
that might be helpful or might not be. I'll get to the suggestion about the affordability with the lottery thing. I wanted to bring up a bureaucratic red tape thing dealing with SCREE, when for all the years I've been on the board, I thought once I reach a certain age and you qualify, frozen means frozen. I found out recently that it doesn't. And so when your rent is frozen.
Yeah.
And this especially affects freelancers and gig workers more than other people, that it's frozen, but then let's say if your income goes up by, whatever, a few $1,000s, then it goes to 1/3 if it's more than the frozen. Even though I feel as when you're a senior and you make a few dollars more, but you're under the threshold of SCREE.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but I can understand it. What I feel is a bipartisan injustice is that it only goes up. So if, let's say you're making $40,000, and so you're under the threshold, and then you make $33,000 the next year. You make
Yeah.
$45,000 next year, your rent goes up. The next year you make $33,000, it doesn't go back down. And I have an email, and like I said, I was dealing with some of the people in Marte's office who couldn't have been nicer. And they investigated this for me and says, moreover, under Department of Finance reading on the applicable rule, frozen rent can only go up. It does not go back down if income goes back down on the next renewal, which is every year. And the person from the Department of Finance mentioned that there has been something of a push to amend this rule, but for now, it is the case that your rent will be adjusted if the 1/3 monthly income becomes higher than the frozen rent. So I think that's something that I would like to put on the table, that if it can go up, because your rent increases, then it needs, and you still meet the threshold, then if your rent goes back down, you're even in a worse position than you were before. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
The second thing on the lottery buildings, which I know people in this situation where they're very, for a good reason, they're very anal about, let's say there's a lottery building in Bushwick or in Pelham Parkway or wherever, and the income threshold is, say, $39,200 to $42,000, and the apartment that you're applying for is $1,200.
Yeah.
You're living in a neighborhood where you're making, let's say, a few $1,000s less than the threshold. Okay, so you technically don't qualify, but you're paying $1,800 a month rent because you're paying more than half your income rent, and you're in that situation. To me, what I would like to see is you have the minimum and maximum rent to qualify, but if you're making less than the minimum, but you can prove, say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever you think is valid to prevent fraud, that you've been paying your rent, then like, say, $2,000 a month, and you're paying like 1/2 to 2/3 a month, you should qualify for that lottery because you need it as much or more than anybody else, but you're priced out of it because you make too little, but you've been paying more.
Yeah.
So I would like to put that on the table as something that, and everybody has to,
We will add it to quality of life
thank you.
for affordable housing.
Thank
That's
you.
not an issue. We can easily do that. There are 2 separate resolutions that would have to go. It's a rule change for
Okay.
Spree and Dree, and it's a rule change for
The lottery.
the lottery. I mean, one of the things is that the city, and by all good practice and good standards, does not believe nor is it, I mean, this is a nationwide thing. You are not supposed to be paying more than a third of your rent. Even if you can, the key is you can never get to a point of saving and planning if you are constantly spending.
But
That's what, then, that's the answer.
that's crazy.
It is
You're
crazy in
supposed
New
to be
York
on the
City
street.
because most people are rent burdened above 30% in New York City.
That's exactly
So,
correct.
but,
So
so
why,
that is a question to
right, but
figure
why
out.
would that person that's burdened for over 30%, then if they're proving that they're a good tenant paying the rent, that new apartment that would be paying, they'd be paying less rent, they should definitely be eligible for that as human ethically.
And we will not solve this tonight. We can
Yes.
put all of that into resolutions and take that up in committee in July.
Well, that's why I'm not on this committee, George, but I saw that you were gonna be here and I wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Anybody
Bravo.
else?
I can't thank you enough. I thought that was really interesting and
So-
incredibly.
I plan on sharing this with HPD. I had a conversation with them today about policy and how it's not helpful for us. And I told her they, pardon me, were actually one of the people who came in as part of the EDC team in presenting at 100 Gold.
Yeah.
And we slammed them incredibly because of what's come out of, the developer's a lovely person, very community minded, fantastic. But it still didn't have enough community and housing affordability. We'll see. I haven't seen the deal. We foiled for it. But yeah, from what we understand, that's fine.
That's great. And please do, and I also encourage you to like look through the data. If you have a data person here, like look through it.
It's on your website, right?
No, well, it's actually in the links. We put it on the internet, so it's you don't even go to the website.
Or,
We sent it out from last time. We'll update it again.
That would be
It'll
great.
live in our-
And also just, I want to say, George, thank you so much. You did a great job. I really appreciate all the work you did. Thank you.
Thank you. This was actually,
Don't leave her hanging.
this was substantive, and I really love doing substantive work, and I'm not always asked to do substantive work. So thank you.
Yeah. There was one other, George, there was one other building, Tribeca Tower, that was an 80-20 building that I didn't see on the list, and they actually, their 30 years expired, and they let the people that were there stay there as long as they still qualified, and they've been treating those
Right.
things.
So the older stuff are not going to be on the income restricted list because they're not reported by HPD.
Well, that building was from the 90s, was built in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
It's a Battery Park City
Yeah.
building.
Okay,
So, I mean, when we have income restricted, we know we're missing some of the older things. And by older, I mean,
I guess, I don't think 90s was the oldest.
yeah, that would count.
The frustrating thing is,
Yeah.
you can absolutely estimate if we went back further, if we asked George to go back even further,
Right,
there's at least 1,000 more units.
okay, cool.
Yeah, and I would say you should
It's
get, if you
painful.
talk to HPD, you should say, we should get those things online. We should have a database that's out there, not this database that starts in 2014 and is cobbling together that we did with Housing Connect that Allian did, which was brilliant.
It's like,
But it's like, we don't have a database with the older stuff, which is an issue. So,
I have one quick question. How much did you use AI in this, if at all?
the only thing, I think Allian can comment on this, but I think he used AI to help with some of the scripts that we used to scrape the rent stabilized housing, because we had to update them, and I think he used that. I think that was it.
But it's not a criticism, it's like a useful tool. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, because we're not programmers, but we had a script that we had to edit.
Yeah, just.
I mean, I think from my perspective is we sit and fight for 10 units here, 20 units there, 30 units there, while we're losing. George's slide showed it. You lost 209, you're down, 80% of the building you've lost. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Is there a penalty, like a crazy idea that I've had over the years, where after the 30 years is up, these smart billionaires that own these properties, they've invested all those tax breaks and everything, so their money's growing exponentially even after the 30 years are up.
Yeah.
If there was a way to, like if you would pull out money, it's not an exact analogy, but if you pull out money out of one of your accounts like that, then there's a penalty for it, like IRA, whatever. Where if you decide to not renew and go out of the program, then some of the interest that would have been accrued could be like a penalty to induce them to renew it.
Right, so,
Let's talk about that at quality of life,
and,
because that's a new topic.
and this,
Okay.
HPD can tell you, they
You're
have
done.
modified a lot of their, regulatory agreements, the current ones, the new ones, work like this. Where there's a penalty to not renewing. I don't know all of the details, but HPD can
Okay,
tell you
that's
that.
good to hear.
There are people, they're trying, HPD tried,
Right.
right? They're good people that are trying to do good work, but you know.
They took my idea.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, George. It's been a pleasure.
Good.
Thank you, everybody, for sitting through it. We're gonna ask our next applicant to come up. And I think it's Paul David.
Yeah, Paul Davidson.
We should say thank you to Alihan too. Thank you for all the hard work you did. So thanks for that.
Yes. Alihan, sorry about that. Didn't mean to
The
forget you back
unsung
there.
hero behind the scenes. So thank you.
Come on over or sit at the end of the
I'm
table.
just gonna try and play a video.
Yeah, we'll get you.
But I'll read it if you want me to.
Okay, thank you so much. For those of us on the committee, this is a new thing. This is cannabis showcase event permit application. This is our very first. So, yeah. Welcome.
Hello. So I've actually lived this. I feel like at home. That was incredible because I've spent a lot of time looking at data like that, like when researching real estate and stuff. But so I've lived in Financial District since 2000. I basically moved at 90 Nassau, which is now above I think it's a Steve Pizza. On the third floor, we had a full live work loft, and it was incentivized after 9/11. So it worked, and I've been down here since then. We have a family now. Our oldest son is going to turn 14, and I am an advertising and marketing person. I've worked at major agencies, and I've started my own companies. That's pretty much just what I've always done, digital and integrated marketing. So I built. I actually ran I Love New York. I mean, that's pretty relevant, I guess. So I ran I Love New York at Saatchi & Saatchi, and that's kind of I think where I would start where I'm at right now with what I'm trying to do, but. Basically, we built ilovenewyork.com, and kind of the mission was to revitalize it and make it not as much about, shopping bags in Chinatown and plastic shopping bags, but, the whole state, and encourage tourism in the Finger Lakes and upstate in Lake Placid. And we, affected the logo, like the Milton Glaser logo with seasons and grapes and things like that. And that was 12 years ago, I guess. That was 2007. So I think it was 2008 or 2010, we'll call it that. So that still runs. That campaign still runs, and it's ilovenewyork.com. The whole point was iloveny.com/summer. Just something simple and help people find places and things to do.
And the time cost.
Yeah.
How does that relate to this?
Well, so that was for the Empire State Development Corporation. That was our client. So that was the government, and it was at Saatchi & Saatchi. And so, then I did private stuff with my own agencies and started some startups and things. And I always wanted to kind of like as running my own marketing agency, I wanted to be able to develop our own products so we could show the clients what we were doing instead of so we could lead the clients basically. So that was in 2015 in Financial District. I launched something called Instaport Cocktails, which is a cocktail kit delivery service. Then I've traveled and worked at
Oh, you gotta get to today. Right?
So here we are today. I don't know how much time do you know what a cannabis is?
Explain exactly what showcase is.
So I built a website called WeTheBest.com, which is like a Drizzy where people could meant for ordering cannabis from dispensaries to promote legal cannabis consumption and ordering and commerce. So they had a cannabis grower showcase in 2023 at the end of the year, so 3 years ago. And I saw it advertised, and I wanted to go there to meet brands, cannabis brands and stores, because I figured it'd be like the Javits Center or something big. So, I could show them the website and how it would help propel commerce. But it was like a sad little room in Hell's Kitchen. And so the reason I started with I Love New York was because, you know, I wanted to basically help, you know, teach, I guess, educate or raise awareness to people about, why they should consume legal cannabis if they wanted to partake. And, you know, how prevalent the problem was basically with like illegal cannabis and why it's not a good idea.
And so this is an application for an event space for there, you all to have, a cannabis focused event.
Yes, so
To,
basically,
in, like, educate and
Exactly.
inform
exactly right. So,
people within the industry.
no, grandmas, you know, tourists, making,
Is it
selling
a
t-shirts.
One-time event?
It's, I'm not following yet, so.
Okay, so,
What is it that, is this, yeah.
okay,
what
so
is the-
I'll explain to you. It's brand new. So basically, it just became a law, like Governor Hochul made it a law, but it got to the point now where would be the first ones since 3 years ago. And the reason they did it was because they were having a hard time opening legal dispensaries because of all of the people suing each other. So that slowed down the whole kind of growth of everything. But they came up with an idea to call it a showcase, not a dispensary, like, you know, like it wasn't a lottery, it was just a showcase to teach people about legal cannabis. So I guess what, you know, I know.
Where are you looking to do? So
On 74 Broad. So let me just show you, if you don't mind, I have a 1 minute video that I think might help. On
Is it
YouTube.
inside of it?
Yeah, it's inside and it's on the second floor. So it's on the second floor. It's not on the second.
Where's it located?
Oh, it's at 70, it's inside of this wonderful space called the Common Ditch Social, which is formerly what was John Allen's at Trinity Place. Do you know that place? So now it's I have like a video of it, but basically, so it's a shared space, it's off the street level but it's also very convenient. So what the idea is that basically it's a way to promote and educate consumers of age, you know, about New York cannabis and promote some of the bravado that we have in New York and to learn about what is New York cannabis, you know, and what does it take. So let me see if this. No, there's no smoking, there's no drinking. It's a showcase. It's like literally it's an educational.
So they
event.
can purchase.
They can purchase and it's like, and so the rules of the permit, it's a park permit, it's a farmer's market. It's actually, the permit is called the Farmer's Market and Cannabis.
Yeah.
That's also what's thrown us too.
Pardon me?
That's what's thrown.
Yeah, it's a brand new thing. It's like the
And
terminology.
it has
you know.
no restrictions from schools, which is a bigger.
It does have restrictions from schools, I believe. It's 250 feet, but the way that I wrote my permit was basically not to be open when schools are open. So it's open. And yeah, like, you know, not during school time and not on the ground level. But it's a farmer's market. Like
How many square feet is the space?
the space is fairly large. It's like maybe 3,000 square feet.
I think farmer's market is very much the wrong terminology.
Well, that's the permit. It's called the actual city permit is called the cannabis showcase event and farmer's market.
So can I just ask a question about that a bit? Because I'm also confused. So
Yeah.
let's just take, for example, the farmer's market on 14 Union Square.
There will probably have cannabis as one of the vegetables.
Okay, so then
You know what I mean?
that's not on a second floor in an enclosed area, that's outside. So as far as you guys are concerned, I mean, no, not.
Please,
not-
please, I want-
That you could be selling, whether it's gummies or cannabis or whatever, but then I would assume that just logically, there's not gonna be, you know, people would be smoking in the area that have bought that. And I would think that could be even though they're not supposed to, that could be a problem in the area where people are also buying fruits and vegetables with families. And I think that's where the conundrum is, at least in my opinion.
Let's focus on this application.
Well, let me,
I'm sorry?
I take into consideration all of these things, really, I do. And
So is this application not like that, or is this?
it's not an outdoor farmer's market. I'm purpose, yeah.
Square
Yeah.
foot space,
Okay,
and you
Yeah.
can smoke inside
No,
of
you
it.
cannot. You can't. There's no smoking inside.
Let me just understand, you can purchase.
You can purchase.
There will be many people selling this,
Right.
their wares. It's like a Java Center,
Yes.
as you said,
No,
of
I,
cannabis.
that's
it's
fine.
not. I want to do it a little bit. Let me read it.
I don't
Okay.
But it's like that.
You
Oh,
want,
please, yeah,
if you want our,
No, I didn't, I thought you had, I've ever been.
if you
It's-
want our engagement
Mhm.
and our approval potentially, you will have to describe it in a way that
It's-
this
well,
board
we are-
approval.
So let me just.
Stop, before we get down the road. My concern and confusion is you are directly across the street from Millennium High School,
Mhm,
which is at 75 Broad.
mhm,
And there's also a PS there.
mhm.
That's within 250 feet on the same road.
Oh,
Well, it's not 250 feet, but I share your concern. First.
It's
You know,
across
I'm
the
very-
street, they're at 75, you're at 74, right?
But I believe that it is, but we are on the second floor and we're inside the building. So it's not like there's no signage, it's not meant for that. And we're also, so this is the way I wrote it on purpose for that, but I was taking that into consideration. Was basically that the law says you can have it can't be open more than 14 days consecutively, and it can't be open more than 45 days in a year. So that you're not doing a permanent.
And what are
thing.
y'all planning, what are you planning right now?
So there's 6 months left in the year. So I said it would be open for delivery, not for the public. And that on basically Saturdays and Sundays, it would be open as a farmer's market with cannabis. So it's not I don't want, this is not about cannabis or anything.
So 6
Yeah,
times
it's a
2.
cannabis market.
Well, but that's not what I'm calling it.
Yeah,
But not,
Oh,
right.
That's literally what it is.
What the
Yeah, but
product-
only
that's
selling
what the-
apples. it's
24
apple
days.
market.
but I'm not, but I'm selling apples and.
Weekends
That's
for
what I'm
6
saying,
months,
yeah.
20
I'm not
days.
just selling cannabis.
I
I'm
mean,
not
4
trying to make
months,
it.
6 times.
I'm trying to make, it's called agriculture.
6 times 8, 48
Okay,
days.
so it will have T-shirts, it will have apparel, it will be about educating about New York and what is it, what does it take to, what does cannabis look like in New York? I mean, they're like tourists are always curious about what is New York cannabis, right? I
can you
mean,
walk into any store, which seem to be at this point pretty ubiquitous, and get that information, like, I often come
Is
in.
this like a store? It sounds like a store, which is okay. But would that be the best description of it, a second floor?
Yeah, if it becomes what I would like it to be, it would be like a gourmet garage, okay? Like what it
Right.
used to be in Soho. So it's an eclectic, I'm calling it the Asimo Bistro. So it has, it's a Dutch, I'm Dutch, my last name's Stecky, so I went with that because there is another one. So, right.
Keep it focused.
Mhm.
You're selling T-shirts, you're selling cannabis, you're selling branded merchandise. Are you selling food,
Yes.
We're selling.
like a
Summer
restaurant?
apples are
Bubble tea. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, not cooking, we're not cooking.
Cannabis
It would be like it's like a cafe almost, you know what I mean? Like,
Do you have vendors for the
Well, I'm
food?
asking the question.
So, yes, we do, but not like yet, you know, but, that's why I wanted to talk to you. Like,
Related to who runs farmers markets in NYC? What's that called? Green Market?
Oh, I
Green
don't know.
This is
Green NYC.
correct,
This is the Department
This
of
is your
Health.
building.
Yes, it's on the
It's the
second
second
floor
floor.
above the Combi.
right?
And so basically, the permit here that I'm asking for you guys to endorse says that on Saturday, after 5 p.m. when the salon is closed, so basically like Saturday evening, it's open. And on Sunday, all day it's open. And I honestly envision it to be a place where, like, imagine just if you know Gourmet Garage or like a sort of eclectic Dean DeLuca kind of thing, like a little bit weird. It's not gonna be that like that. But there would be okay, good. So imagine like in like the way the world is now, there could be, you can get wine at Whole
Who
Foods,
else
right?
is in this building? And also, have you talked to the community and people around it?
I mean,
Have you
I've
gotten
lived here since,
Have
no,
you
this is the
posted
signature.
notice?
Oh, I haven't done, this is the first I'm talking about because in order to have the OCM look at it, you guys have to say that it's okay.
And what's my timeline on it?
Understand it.
Well, I wanna open on July
Before we
11th.
look at it, we have to.
Yeah, I mean, so basically when I submitted,
Yeah.
and it has to be 30 days. I mean, I guess like, you know, I don't wanna argue with you guys about this. If you don't want cannabis in your neighborhood, you're sorry,
It's
it's
not
there.
there.
It's not there. Oh, so I'm an advocate for like promoting legal and educational commerce. And I have children and there are illegal shops closer like than you can imagine to where that is.
We know.
We
Okay,
have
good.
people that have approved these things, so we're familiar with.
Alright, cool. So that's my goal is education about the fact that what is the
But also
brand, you
selling
know?
cannabis and fruits.
I don't even sell the I'm not the licensee selling the cannabis.
But
I'm
we
a
know that,
marketing person.
But the place that you're gonna be in, they're
There,
gonna sell.
there will be cannabis.
You go in and buy.
only on these dates.
Well, then
Like,
here's the
these-
problem then.
Yeah.
Because you're not the person getting the license to sell the cannabis. The people the vendors that are gonna come in are not gonna be approved, so where you.
No, I approve them. I'm the processor. I'm a
Yes,
licensed
but they're
processor.
not approved because they can't sell cannabis
No,
across the street from the school. That's their law, like, that's the law for the vendors.
well, I don't know, but I think that this is more than 250 feet away from the
If
school.
there's a school that.
No, it's my,
The street.
Because well, I may be wrong, but because it's inside of the building, it's on the second floor.
Those two people know.
It's on
this
Saturday.
Community better than anybody in this world.
75 Broad is direct, the entrance
Mhm.
is direct. Zach, can you do me a favor? and-
It doesn't go from where the
Yeah,
door starts on the second floor.
It's where, I mean, you have to
Right.
walk with your.
75 Broad is right there.
Right.
And then, I mean, that's the.
That's the Department of like Health or something. I've been.
That's
there,
the-
I can't feel it, but- So it's more than 250 feet though, if you put your foot in front of it and you walk from the door where the cannabis is.
Right, no, it's
To the
not,
school.
that's not the
That's
rule.
where the, yeah.
Well, I think that people
Rule
debate
is
it,
from
or-
front door to front door.
well, okay.
It says not from the second floor to the
Yes,
door
that's
of
what
the
I-
school.
So where, how do you enter the Millennium High School?
From 75 Broad. From the entrance on Broad Street.
Well, does this become moot if it's within 250 feet?
Oh,
but
it
it's
is.
not?
Yeah.
I mean, no, there can be
It
exceptions,
is.
but.
It's like it's a mix.
Well, do you feel on a Saturday instead of this?
Would potentially provide exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, do you think on a
They're-
Saturday
they're
they're not?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I mean, I'm being
that's
serious.
a different point, but as it stands now, this is not, if you're within the 250, then it is not legal unless you have an exception.
Potentially, but I actually think it is more than 250, but I mean, it doesn't have,
Anyway,
like,
let's take that.
Well,
yeah, that's not the,
It's not
it
about
sounds like
that.
there's bigger concerns than that.
Us on this new, like the way that street vendors, like.
Well, that's what I want you to see.
I'm sure at a disadvantage.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
think
fine that you have that, but we don't walk around.
I just want you to see, all that would happen, I'm so sorry, I know, I'm living, read this up. Is that you would say, okay, I'm willing to talk to the OCM about this. That's all, I mean, it doesn't open the doors. This is a form, and I'm so sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, but then how are you gonna get from there by July 11th? If we're just,
Well,
like,
wait, let me just explain to you guys, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this form says that the municipality is okay with it, and then there's a, if you haven't read.
I have it for.
Oh, so there's
I
a
read
letter
this
for
now.
you to contact the OCN and ask them questions,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? So then, like, then a process starts of, do we want this on these dates, is this the right hours? Is it
Right, so
too
we're
close to-
busy from now to July
Yeah.
11th, so I don't see us having this open conversation.
That's all, yeah, that's all.
Hold on. Here are the strict requirements. Written approval from the host municipality. Advance application submission to OCM. Age verification to prevent entry or sales to anyone under 21. Prohibition of on-site cannabis consumption. No free samples or giveaways of cannabis products. Compliance with distance requirements from schools, places of worship, and designated public youth facilities. That's the one that's catching you up. Submission of safety, security, incident reporting plans. Do you have your safety, security, and incident reporting
Yeah,
plan?
I'm a licensed processor.
Do you have a printed plan and that you can share with us?
Yes,
Where is it?
I don't have it yet, I mean, I just,
Well,
And that's what.
but
I think this is the time where it gets presented.
this.
oh, that's my first time ever.
Yes, us too, us too,
Okay.
us too.
I mean,
That's why
yeah.
July 11th is just
The
not
de-
happening.
oh, well,
The details will come shortly. When is that?
So I've seen those things, it's a floor plan, okay, so this, I have a video if you wanna see, but basically it's a, you know, it's a floor through.
What I
74.
need is for safety and security, we need a floor plan.
Yeah.
We need to know how many security you have. Where is there a queuing space, like all the things, you're on a second floor, so it shouldn't, but, you know, we wanna make sure that. Let's say the showcase is phenomenally successful, that you're not lining up down the street.
Right,
Right, those kinds of plans is what we expected you to.
Letters
come
from
to.
neighbors.
okay, my bad.
You don't actually need the letters from neighbors because it's not a permanent store.
Okay.
All right, are we ready for resolution on this, Tammy? Because if we are, let's
That's
start
the
to
hours?
identify what we're doing. So I would
What
say,
hours are you gonna have?
So here, this is the part, and again, I thought you had read this, so basically it's, okay, well, it says the hours.
4 a.m.
12 to 4, so Sunday night, so Saturday it opens at 4, and it's open till 4, Saturday night, right? And then
It's
it's
gonna be 4 p.m. to midnight,
No,
and then
4
midnight
to
to
4.
4 a.m., so you want a
4 a.m., Tammy.
24-hour cycle.
No, I don't believe so, it's 12 hours. Like 4
Yeah,
PM in the
12 hours.
afternoon, to 4 AM on Sunday.
Yeah.
So Saturday night,
it's,
basically.
not, it's, yeah.
It's open all night.
Yeah, you open like Saturday night. It would be
A
open.
day and a half.
No, I mean, there's
12 hours.
No, no, what this is, if Susan were here, she'd be livid. We were talking about a plan.
No, it's not a club and it won't have more than
Yeah,
20
I'm
different.
gonna chime in here, because I think we all are saying what we're reading, it doesn't seem to be
Agreed.
getting a lot of support. I would never, given the people I know from the community who have children who've had some real difficulties with cannabis.
Mhm. On
My
Stone
child's
Street.
not, whatever, but I'm just saying, I could never imagine ever approving something that's a 24-hour.
It's not 24 hours.
I can compare it.
I don't compare that. I'm just telling you, no, I'm like, my commissioners know I'm not able to approve those hours. So
Okay.
they would have to be amended, and I'm not
Yeah.
able to approve 14 consecutive calendar days.
14.
Maybe it's, within one time a month. And as a trial period or something, I mean, this for me would
So this is-
require that kind of resolution where we also find out the missing information
We'd
on the
like,
school.
we'd like the dates that you want to do, because if you have, no, you've given us 5 months.
It's 6 months. It
And-
starts on the 11th and goes to the 31st of December.
So six
So
months.
you're saying every Saturday and Sunday for 6 months?
That's 48 days.
No, it's not.
Four weekends is 8, and then times 6 is 48.
Either way, we're not gonna do a 4 AM.
That's
not-
black and white.
Okay, well,
That's
that's
not
fine.
our, that's not our
You
thing.
don't have to, and this don't, I mean, my kid, like, we live on 85 Pearl Street, it's crazy.
Perfect, so let's
But
talk
that's, but
about,
alcohol, that's okay.
let's talk about some reasons.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to like, I'm trying to.
Okay, so let's talk
do something
hours.
that
Let's talk,
shows and demonstrates.
let's talk
safety.
hours.
Okay, so I would say like, this place is a salon also, so I'm helping the owner of this place, like, subsidize.
It's a hair salon.
It's a hair salon, yeah.
So you're there after operating hours from the hair.
Like they close at like 6 o'clock on Saturday. It's a beautiful space.
Sure it is. But that highlights one thing. Make it beautiful, and you may have a video. We require, it may be old school, paper with a plan and a north arrow and an occupancy. I mean, something.
I'm more than
Yeah,
happy.
like crazy.
No, you're not at all.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna end this
Yeah.
respectfully,
Yeah.
because you don't have what we need. And I'm a very very easygoing guy. But we're not gonna continue this conversation because you just don't
Yeah.
have what we need.
I
So come back again.
That's
And
fair.
when you come back,
Sorry, if anyone thinks that's wrong.
No, I mean, can I
Nope.
just submit it
Nope.
electronically, like before coming in?
you can submit everything, but we cannot approve anything in the public realm.
Right,
That is the problem that you're running
So
against.
we're
I-
going
So you're gonna have to come back in July.
to the
You can-
10th of July.
You can come back to
It's
the
your next.
licensing committee in July.
Yeah.
Susan would be delighted to have you.
I mean,
Yeah.
did you guys I just have a question. I've never been in a community board. I've just lived here for
Well, here you
since
are.
9/11.
Okay.
No, I'm
You
glad
are.
to be here.
Alright,
I love
hold
it.
on, hold on.
But
Yes,
did
let-
you,
let
do
me-
you have to approve a dispensary? Like, what were the
Yeah.
conversations?
Yeah.
What were the, how did they get?
Long,
That's all.
complicated,
Yeah.
annoying. We don't have all the
Get some
tools.
online and look
All right,
at some
hold
of
on.
the.
Stop.
Thank you.
Hold
I'm
on.
just asking, man.
Yes,
Because I didn't know.
and for example, the dispensary on Chambers Street
Which one?
Okay.
Alta?
came to us 3 or 4 times, I think,
Mhm, yes.
and
Right.
they're a great neighbor.
Alta.
Right,
Yeah.
and we have supported
I know.
them, we just did a renewal for them, whatever
I
it
know
is.
them very well. So this
Okay.
is not that.
So, here, I understand that, you need to come with a security plan, because that is what's required, right, a safety plan,
Mhm.
alright?
And I'm only planning to have no more than 25 people at any time, I think. just,
Okay,
you know,
you need to
super
give us a
low.
diagram of the space, how it's gonna be laid out,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You need to check about compliance, because the school's address is
Yes.
75 Broad, which is directly across the street.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So is that, do you guys have a problem with it? Because if
Yeah.
you do, then
Yeah.
clap your hands, like, I'm not asking to override you
Yes.
guys. Right, okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not, we're
okay.
not,
Even with the hours and everything like that?
well, the
Yeah.
hours are an issue, we
I
would.
mean, I'm sorry, but like not open on.
If you were on Saturday and Sunday and you said to us, listen, hey, we're gonna be after the salon closes 6 to midnight.
Yeah.
On Saturday, and Sunday we're doing during the day.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Well-
We're not gonna probably approve you a midnight to 4 AM.
Okay, that's easy, that's not a problem. I'm
Just describe me what's going on at 2 o'clock in the morning in this space.
like probably watching the World Cup and, you know.
Well, they're also doing deliveries.
I don't understand what is the problem. You're not subjecting to Stone Street? Like,
What are you seeing? I'm just asking.
What is happening at a showcase at 5 o'clock in the morning?
I'm asking.
What
to
is
put-
happening at, I'm trying to answer you,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go at 2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
What am I gonna see? What will I be doing?
Like, honestly, I don't know, I just would put it in here, so we
That's
can be
in
open.
this environment.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so we could be open, and if we were, if people wanted to get there could be like 6 people there watching the World Cup of soccer, right? I mean,
Or 25, or 50.
But it's all-
I don't want more.
That's
than
what the
25.
World Cup is gonna, that's not like.
All right,
listen,
stop, everybody.
It's,
Oh,
it's an
stop.
alternative to a bar, you know, that's what it is.
But you
Okay.
said they don't drink there.
But they don't smoke.
They don't drink, and they can't smoke there, you can smoke on the sidewalk.
It's not a bar.
It's an alternative to a bar.
You're not doing a good job of selling this.
No,
Well, I didn't know you guys were so uptight, I don't really care, to be honest.
Paul.
No, I get,
I'm
just go to the dispensary, I've got kids, they know what pot is, I know what cigarettes are, I know what alcohol is. There's so much trash all over Stone Street, I'm trying to have 5 people in the second floor of the building above Tatombi, and you're having a problem with it? Great.
You
What?
should go back and look at our
I
other.
I don't need to go back and watch it, I'll do it. I'm trying to do something good for the community,
Yo!
and you guys have a lot of problems.
All right, listen,
Yes,
what I asked you to do
I got you, but I.
is to come back to the license.
Find out the school thing, okay? And then that's in a
Fine.
month, I'm gonna be away, I'll be in Dubai, right now.
Can you
I'm
let
over-
me finish?
Yes, ma'am, you can finish, I don't, it's not gonna work, this woman needs help with her rent. And I'm trying to help her by putting another business in that is legal. And there's nothing wrong with it, and you guys have a lot of objections because it has the word cannabis in it, and I don't really understand it.
Actually,
That's what I'm hearing.
what you're hearing is an objection to, there's no safety plan.
Well,
You
yes.
didn't check about the school across the street,
Right,
which is on you, right?
no, it's
We're
not,
telling-
you're telling me I can do it, I got it, I'm gonna do that. I've been in
Right.
business
You
since
know-
98.
Well, then you need to make all those double checks for that because our understanding the school is across the street. Security plan, floor plan, the school, you've already represented that you're gonna, that we would not approve something midnight to 4 AM, that's just not
That's-
neighborhoody, right? And
Okay.
so you need to give us different hours.
That's-
There's no hours that you've listed Monday through Friday, so you've said delivery, which
Yeah,
doesn't,
delivery, so I want you to be aware of that, I would like it to be
but
available.
that doesn't comport with the 45 cumulative days.
But I believe it does, I don't know, it's something for the OCN, like,
Okay, but that's
I think
something
it
you
does,
need
I don't
to,
know.
in order to have the.
I don't know, because no one's ever done it before, this is a new law.
I believe it does, and I don't know, don't go together.
I don't know, that's a new law, it has to be discussed.
Fantastic, find out if
There's
you.
no precedent for this. I
Okay,
don't have the answers.
so I don't know is honest then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one's done it before.
Please find out if you have to spec your 45 days, we would like your 45 days spec.
Like, okay, not the way, well, so I think I am, I'm not trying to like pull the wool over anyone's eyes.
There's a difference between
Like-
2 days a week
And delivery.
and
only?
delivery only. Delivery only is an operational day. So whether or not you're having people, that's an operational day that doesn't fit on 45.
Alright,
So
so bear
we're
with me.
trying to help you
Thank you,
learn
great, thank you.
and come back and deal.
The way I
Please do
read,
all those,
I
no,
will-
no,
well, I just want you to know something.
Mhm.
The way that I read it, the way that they wrote it, it can't be open more than 14 consecutive days. So
for
I,
a max of 45.
in a year, so like the one in 2023 that I helped and it came up with a campaign called Roll with New
I,
York.
no, no,
Okay.
you have not shown me 45 days. You have not
It's
shown me.
6 months of the year. So it's not, it's, okay, that's.
This says you're operating Monday through Friday for delivery.
For public to enter is what I'm thinking, what they're saying. Delivery doesn't count, is what I think, I'm not sure.
You need to go find that out and then come back.
Or give us a calendar that says these are the delivery days and these are the open days.
That's what it is.
No,
No, that's not, that's too
Oh,
vague.
delivery does count, Paul.
We-
Oh,
that's-
delivery
Yeah, I
does
didn't know,
count.
I didn't know.
So that,
Okay.
that's what it does.
so Paul,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
am sure that we are under a timeline for you.
Yeah,
Because I'm
well,
sure once we've been notified, we probably have only X number of days. At this point, we are going to decline this based on a lack of information.
okay,
we
I don't think you should,
love-
if, can I ask you to call the OCM where it says to do?
We'd be happy to
I would
tomorrow,
love that, and then.
Monday, tomorrow's a holiday.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't
We-
think it's a rush, like.
We'd be happy to help you,
Thank you. 'cause
be
I
able
love
to
this.
have you come back in July with all the information that you need.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
Great.
okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Okay, guys,
For now, until,
alright, I love you.
right, the one thing
Watch
I
the
have learned.
video and.
Watch the video of what, the campaign called Roll with New York?
No, watch this video
Jason.
and try to improve your presentation skills.
All right, Jason.
I'll get right on it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
My understanding of the way everything has worked with OCM is you
Yeah.
still have to, provide a response.
Your feedback is very viable. It makes perfect sense. It's good feedback.
Good.
I don't have the answers to it.
And then you'll
But I didn't know
come
you
to us
would.
in July with answers, that would be fantastic. But until then, we still have to provide.
What if I come back to like on
Call the
Wednesday?
question.
Do you still have to, like,
Second.
sorry, if I come back on Wednesday, then it would wait until the 10th of July?
Yes, we have to, we called the question and it's been seconded.
Correct.
Second, right.
Oh, she said.
You either authorize to approve or you don't.
Oh,
Right,
And
it's not approved.
And at this point, we are not approving it because you need to come back with much information.
But if I come
And
back,
when you come back, this application will be very different, I am sure. You're gonna come back with your 45 days
I'm not gonna
limited.
do that much
You're-
work
you're
until I know what the process is. There is no precedent.
Well, then you got home.
Now we should vote.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
can do whatever you want.
But-
I think you guys
No,
are
no,
a little
no,
bit
no.
not very open-minded on this.
July.
But
Vote,
let's
please.
see on Wednesday, okay?
All right,
I'll just get you on email the answers to your questions.
it's a vote
You
by
guys can figure it out.
affirmation.
Thank you very much.
Are there any opposed?
No, you're not opposed. We are declining.
It's a vote by affirmation and declining it, that's right. So, assuming everybody's affirmed, are there any in opposition to denial? Are there any abstentions or recusal? Okay, motion passed.
are you gonna have to write a resolution or you just, I'm not sure I understood the lead.
It is a resolution to deny, and it includes the fact that he doesn't have a security plan.
Okay.
His numbers are distinct, he doesn't have 45 days spec, he doesn't know if delivery counts.
It's unclear what's happening.
He represented he was gonna be using it for watch parties and as an alternative to a bar.
Delivery has to
And
count.
if you're not, go down strong outside on.
And the school
And
location.
What's our next item? What's our next item? We gotta.
What is it?
Delivery
Yeah.
delivery has to count.
I told you.
Yeah.
The business is operating.
That big a deal?
Very easy. It
Oh,
used to be
yeah.
illegal, but now it's not.
Okay.
In
So this is,
district
there are
manager.
two city council laws that are currently out there. One is to amend the New York charter to, in terms of employment for district managers. Okay, this is 501.
Not yet voted.
Zach can't vote. We, no, it's this one,
Oh,
501.
okay. Well, you have one?
I do,
Okay.
get that. So this is something that our fellow community boards have also opined on, some of them in Manhattan and across. It stems from issues that have happened in other boroughs, not ours. But we are, in general, opposed to it. Because there's absolutely, positively, no way that we would want to do term limits for district managers.
Get him to stay for a whole 1.5 term.
The main point is a 4-year term limit, and the borough president would have the ability to remove the district manager over the board.
Wait, sorry, say that one more time.
So it would put a district manager at a 4-year term limit. And at any point, the borough president overrules the community board who works with the district manager and decides if they're an employee or not.
Okay.
I could just, yeah, they could remove the district.
But,
manager.
so if we hit the 4 years, can we extend it another?
It's renewal, it says it's renewal.
You're opposing this.
We're opposing this.
But
Oh,
the Manhattan Board President.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, finish.
So I'm just need to call the question?
Yeah.
Oh.
Affirmation to oppose this.
I mean, it just seemed like everybody was.
Yes, we're on the same page.
It's,
Jeff's got it in his hand though, in a way that he might have a question.
no,
Okay, I see.
it's totally absurd. Okay,
go.
so,
So, well,
That's the
I'll
last.
oppose.
it's a vote by affirmation that we are against this. Are there any opposed, meaning you do support it? Any abstentions or recusals? Fantastic, motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
That puts us at 322. This is also the city charter in relation to giving council members the power to make appointments onto community boards. It's weird, only because,
They already have.
you don't think,
So right now, the council member makes a recommendation to the borough president, and then the borough president handles all of these.
So it's just a
appointments.
technicality.
So this would sort of separate that, you would have dueling processes of appointing community boards.
So we don't like
members.
What's wrong with
And
the way
in
it is
some,
now?
in some boards, they have multiple council members,
Oh.
and so you would have like two
Competing.
different council members doing
Trying to
two
see.
processes, and then you have the borough president, it's a.
But there is no
it's a little
advantage
chaotic.
to having not just the borough president make the final call on the
This,
membership?
There are a couple boards where the borough president and the council member are not in alignment.
Right,
And they're at odds, right?
right.
And so this is, I believe Staten Island is where this is surfacing, where their borough president would overrule their council member.
Right.
Manhattan, we've never had that problem, and it would,
But it-
I think for us, it would make this process pretty difficult in
Is there
comparison to what it is now.
a world where we don't opine on this? Because it sounds like it would. There's a positive in some districts and councils, it's just not in ours.
Well, except that it's not gonna be one way in some district
Right.
and another way in another
Right,
district.
exactly.
it's all or nothing, and then it sets you up for having two complete separate processes, two complete different orientations, that,
Is it the same amount of board members?
Yes.
But if you get a really bad borough president, you're stuck.
Well, if you get a bad, really bad city council person.
But at least if you have
Two.
both, you have a shot at some balance.
but
Can I ask
I
something?
don't know.
And this is interesting. So when you go to what, the community board website, it says who was
correct,
assigned by who.
correct,
Right.
correct.
And then council member people.
Yep.
They don't have to go through the process every
Correct.
year.
Correct,
So then.
every year, actually.
That's every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Everybody.
Every year, they make recommendations and they go through, but the borough president handles the appointment, the onboarding, the paperwork, and the things. A borough president technically can override, I believe, the council members. But this is not the way to solve that.
That's a question that needs to be answered in, this meeting.
What?
Can the borough president override?
I was
the
appointed
council
by
member?
the president.
According to the city charter,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
According to the
Yes.
city charter, yes.
Is it done? Is it done?
Appointed by the,
No.
by.
Okay.
I was appointed by Marte,
Yes,
I didn't get appointed by
because the city council person appoints half the board and the borough president appoints half.
We submit the same applications that you do.
It's the same application, it's one process. The
Same
problem with
review
this is it doesn't solve the problem from my perspective. It adds a new layer of complexity
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
unwarranted. If the issue is between the two, then make it so that the borough president has to appoint the 25 that the council member suggested.
They usually
Works with
take
that.
care of the, like, I was also appointed when one of the board members, I was a public member, and then the city council person at the time had recommended me to take it. And the borough president, if they usually have good relationships with the council members, they usually, I don't wanna say rubber stamp, but it makes it easier for them. And so the council members get their people, and then the borough president gets their people.
Yeah.
I think it would only be in situations where the borough president and council members are really butting heads. But I would think for 75 to 80% of the community boards, it works very good the way it is.
Correct.
Agreed.
And
Well
you're
said.
not gonna please it, and like, there's always gonna be
Mitch,
one
well
exception.
said.
Yeah,
Well said.
yeah.
Brendan.
Is there a limitation of how many can be appointed by borough presidents and council members?
It's happened now.
It's happened now. It's 25 and 25.
Isn't
I
that
didn't
college application?
Anybody, and I just applied as a member.
That's by merit,
That's-
you were
that's-
by merit and borough president, not, right? That would be a merit appointment by an interview.
But
But
at
it
the
could be
end,
the borough president
at the end of the
also.
day,
Like, I'm just not.
Well, how would the council member know that he was applying if the borough president that takes the application?
and for,
You
in
just
your
came out of
case,
nowhere,
in
you know?
your case, what happened was you didn't come through either borough president
Yeah,
or
That's what
council.
I'm saying.
So with an empty seat, the borough president and the council looks and
Oh, they
says,
get together.
they get together and they say, I'll take him from my list.
Great, so that seems to be working well. Call the question.
Okay, second.
Vote for affirmation against this legislation.
Yes.
So is there anybody opposed?
I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Would you
abstain
like,
on it.
okay, so then 2 abstentions?
Great.
Uh-oh.
Right, now we don't have it.
Okay, and no refusals. How are we doing?
Is,
I should have.
There's somebody online too.
is Steve still online?
The vote is still open. If you wanna change your vote, you can. Pass.
What did Betty vote to?
Francis?
Betty, Betty, do you want to vote?
I guess it should
Betty,
be said.
I assume
I can't hear you.
My vote counts, even though I'm not.
assigning you for
She's
quality
gonna
of life.
unmute, she's
Okay.
got us.
You're the rep.
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
Is Betty here?
With
Yeah,
your,
she's having trouble unmuting, but she's,
so
Betty,
put
you
your
can-
hands up or down.
Thumbs up, thumbs
now
down.
she's just frozen.
Oh, boy.
I
She's
thought
not-
somebody frozen.
she's on,
Worst position, they never would want to have known that they were
She's
in
on
that
screen.
position with their face.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna assume Betty's in affirmation as well, because she did not unmute, and with three, the motion passes.
Okay,
All right.
we're not.
We
doing
gotta still do
reports.
committee reports and
Oh.
board updates.
Well,
I have no borough board update because they canceled borough board for the parade and we have it next week. So I will let you know, it'll be right before full board.
Do you wanna do a reminder for Tuesday?
Yes, thank you. This is a reminder, we have mandatory training on Tuesday.
we have to go
Yes, it's in person.
during the day?
No,
Six
6
o'clock.
to 7:30
I work
and
a
it's,
double shift.
and it's tight. It's tight.
Right.
It's 1.5 hours and we're in and out.
Where is it?
Downstairs,
Do they have food?
we could.
We should have food.
Okay.
Because every,
And I just wanna note, I wanna thank everybody unbelievably for May. It was humbling and overwhelming, and from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciated it. I did not expect any of that. And then on the fun and light side, we didn't start the meeting till 7, and we are still out at 9:15. So, or 9:30. We can do it. Let's keep it up.
Which
That-
is
that was great
another,
for the parade. and-
another reminder. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to make one point from licensing. We know we're going into FIFA hysteria.
We have 2 FIFA permits, actually.
Right, and we're going to be getting these permits for different,
No.
no, it's.
the finals comes back for here.
So we have FIFA permits that have come to us for PJ Clark's, which we will be approving because as most of it, I believe.
Yes,
is-
we haven't had any issues with them,
And
and
then
then the other one for saving
Second one is over at the Seaport with Sadie's, and they will be doing security, they will be attempting to keep it under some kind of modicum of, and they have a very good relationship with NYPD, so if it doesn't work on the first night, they'll be doing it differently afterwards, but we will say yes to that as well on ABC.
So with
Yeah,
the
that's
additional reminder,
one establishment.
full board on Thursday.
Yep, we will remind everybody about that.
Yeah, that's one establishment that's asking for it, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 others in the immediate vicinity that are not asked.
So they're not asking.
Right, okay. So,
Are you?
Okay, and I think that's it, because we're not doing committee reports.
Is that the most controversial resolution?
It's-
The licensing one? I mean, like out of all of the book committees.
Think so.
Little bit environmental protection, I warn you.
Yeah.
Out all that stuff.
Right through it.
Yeah,
On your behalf.
So should we start with that one?
we are going to.
Okay. All the questions to adjourn.
There, a second. 8 o'clock.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hi, Betty.
I missed you logging your vote.
How are you?
You're muted.
Up or down?
Okay.
Sandy, you were at the Vita in the parade, and not in the parade. in the-
No audio, I don't know.
South City Hall?
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Yes, Zach.
You are a yes for the votes?
Go back to, was it one of those negative votes?
It was, we voted 3 negative things. 1, the cannabis guy.
Well, I
because
voted on all of them, but they were all votes of affirmation, and I did not,
There are votes of affirmation of denial.
I understand. But I went with the majority, so I don't understand why I'm being targeted versus everybody else for giving
We
my
couldn't
vote.
hear you. We couldn't hear you.
It was for the last one because we needed to see if it passed because we had 3
You're not being
abstain.
targeted, you just, your thing was frozen, that's why.
Yeah, so sorry, Betty.
Okay, we got it.
We are very appreciative of you unmuting. Thank you. And have a good night.
You did.